Still going. Still got it. Got lots more movement now anyway. Right, it is days before Bug Jam. It is Bug Jam week. Yes. I'm sure everyone's excited. We are still leading the championship in VW Pro. We'll be back in the Don this weekend. Lily still leading VW Sportsman in your mum. Watch out for our new t-shirts this weekend. No real performance changes on the Don since, what was it? Summer Nationals. No, Greenland, no? Since Sportsman Nationals, I think it was. Was it Sportsman or was it Spring Speed? I don't know anyway. No changes since the last time we had it out on the drag strip. Performance-wise, obviously we had the G30 770 turbo fitted and basically put it on the car and ran it at wastegate pressure, which worked out to be 0.9 bar of boost, which is basically nothing. We left it there. It ran 11.8 into a headwind, so we pretty much think 11.7, 11.6 without a headwind is probably going to be there, and basically the car's running no boost at all, so it should be super reliable. The lads wanted to leave it there. I had other plans, unfortunately, but everything I have bought that you can see here is all bolt-on sort of accessories. New inlet manifold, the coolant reservoir delete, and fixing that hose that you saw on a previous video, which was now over a month ago. I can't believe I actually come into the unit. I was going to fit that water pipe to fix that tiny little drip that we had at the under tray caught. Realised I couldn't do it because I was missing the tool, and I was like, I'll come back. We've got Proclamation Day tomorrow. I've got Tuesday off. I'll come back. Lo and behold, what are we, 5-6 weeks later, and this is the first time I've come to the car because I've been out of action with no work and basically not really. The wife wouldn't even let me come down to the unit on my own in case I fell over, because kind of it was like if I fell over, I was not getting up. So yeah, we're going to fit the inlet manifold, the reservoir delete, the new fuel rail. We're going to have to adjust the inlet manifold gasket, which is the phenolic gasket, to make it transition from a large port manifold to a small port head. We've got some silicone hoses. And then of course we've got those BC Racing coilovers. They're not going on today. I just literally took them out of the box. They are for the next round, probably Greenlight Nationals or maybe even European Finals. Depending, it's just comes out of time. We haven't got time to basically fit those coilovers and take it to the tracking place and get the camber and the tracking all done. So we're just going to leave it with the crappy suspension. We essentially know where we are with the car at the moment, and we don't expect these modifications I'm going to do today to really make a performance difference. So yeah, Bug Jam, 11.7 styling, continue on. Fingers crossed we can qualify well. Fingers crossed we can finish the event well. And at that point, we're on the downhill slope of the season with only Greenlight Nationals and National Finals to go. So fingers crossed we can leave Bug Jam still in the lead and go from there. Anyway, enough of me waffling. You're watching this video, so hopefully see the end of the video to see the bits that we fitted. And then of course, if you're going to stay along for the ride, there's not going to be much time-lapse stuff, to be honest, because I forgot to charge my phone. I didn't bring a charger down the unit. So lucky you, this is going to be a shorter video. I'm going to fit the bits that I can, go for a little guide as well. And at the end of the video, you'll see something else that I bought that I've not shared to anyone else. So even my crew are going to be like, for God's sake, what's he bought now? You have to wait till the end of the video. So anyway, let's get the bonnet open and get on with the car then, shall we? So, I'm so glad. Do you know what? I do need a cover for the turbo. At the moment, I shoved a sponge in there just to stop any spiders kind of making a spider's web in there. And of course, me flapjack bucket would stop anything going down the turbo. So what we're doing today, as we said, we are going to change inlet manifold. We are going to delete the coolant reservoir. That gets rid of this pipe and this pipe. We're going to replace this pipe here, which was our one that was leaking, because it was originally a joiner. It was a coolant line for the KO4. We don't have the KO4 anymore, so that's why that's going. And then that reservoir is going to bolt onto the side of the head, replacing this adapter here, which has already been deleted for the heater core anyway. So that is basically going to replace that, and it's a like for like swap, so basically replaces all of these. Saying that, on the original setup, the idea was if we're going to replace anything, we're going to replace it with stock parts. Now, of course, this is from a VW Passat or an Audi A4. I can't remember what engine code it is, but this is the small port version of the inlet manifold, because I had a small port head. So that was fine, but these runners are actually quite small. The throttle here obviously feeds cylinder number 2 and number 3. There is a curve here, so air will automatically go in there, but the main flow will go this way. There's not really much room from here to there for it to disperse. And, you know, air's lazy. Air will go where it's thrown. It will be forced into the other cylinders, much like with the old setup where we had the throttle body over here. The air would automatically try and go to 1 and 2 cylinder, and it would have to be scavenged again to 3 and 4. So there's no perfect setup, is there? But for the money that we've got, this is a better option, I think. Originally, the idea was, especially for this car, is everything was supposed to be budget. And like every drag racing car that ever is of one, everything goes wild and everything gets changed. So we went for the center style inlet manifold when we did the new intercooler, just because this was available for £20 and it was basically a direct swap, no messing. That bolted up. We changed the throttle body from the old setup and it was lovely. So it's worked perfectly fine. The reason we are changing it is because I found this inlet manifold so cheap. I wasn't going to buy another one. As we said, you get the SEM ones, you can never get hold of. The P Motorsport one was a little bit out of my price range for the moment, but the SPA Turbo one was in the money range, and also, if you need it, PayPal, pay in free. I mean, you've got no excuse not to do it then. Brother, Right, today we are getting rid of the dirty old header tank. For me, this is a race car. It's all about basically getting rid of extra fittings and tidying up the engine bay. But you might want to do this just to smooth your engine bay and make it a little bit tidier. So I've got the Grey Fab coolant reservoir delete. We are basically going to be taking this away. For me, it gets rid of the extra pipe work that runs under here. It also gets rid of the extra pipe work that runs to the main water pipe. And then we've got the Grey Fab item, which will bolt onto the side of the head. Please ignore my wiring. This is a many time used loom, but we're going to tidy that up a little bit. So here we have it from Grey Fab in America. As someone said on one of my other posts, this is the most expensive coolant reservoir you can buy if you live in the UK. It is true. With taxes and shipping, it does cost a little bit, but I spoke to Lee, who everybody knows does all my fabrication, and he basically said this would have cost me about £250 to £300 for him to fabricate it if he had the time. But the thing is, he would have had to put the time and the effort in to work out where all these fittings goes. He's got to make the flange and he's got to build it. And so you can buy this off the shelf, as Grey Fab already make it. So at that point, for an extra, 30, 40 quid, you might as well just get it from Grey Fab, who have done the time and the effort to actually make this, and just buy it from them and support a company. 2 bolts, unbolt my fuel rail, comes out the way, and then it's basically the 10 bolts that hold the inlet manifold on. Already undone the silicone hose on the gasket, and I've unplugged all my air lines to it, so hopefully this should just pop off, and then I can show you the phenolic gaskets underneath. Of course, as I said, I'm going to port that. It's one of the final jobs I've got to do is take that spring off my oil dipstick. Why do we run that? Because in Motorsport UK, you have to have a spring, or probably in most motorsports, holding your dipstick down. So if you do overpressure your engine, your dipstick doesn't pop out and spray oil everywhere. Of course, just laying it on top at the moment, just to give you a kind of comparison. Now, not only is the SPA turbo manifold, the runners are for a large port head. We're going to have to do a little Coolant gasket transition plate for that. That's no issue. But the main thing is those runners are so much bigger. I've only gone for the 4 injectors because I run 4 1700cc injectors, which is more than enough for me. But if you want to run 8 sets of injectors, you can do. There's the option for that. I don't need it, so I didn't buy it. Standard throttle body will bolt directly onto there. You can also buy a version with a larger throttle body if you want, but for the moment I am just going to be running what I've got. That is more than enough. But again, as I was saying, the main reason I've bought this, you can see the difference from the throttle body to the plenums. That much. Throttle body to the plenums, I mean, it's the size of my hand. The air has got so much better chance of going to 2, 3 and 4, and of course that air will still go to number 1, but I believe that the airflow on this one is so much greater than this one. Now, of course, the results will come this weekend, our next race. We are not going to change anything on the car. We are only running 0.9 bar of boost because we're running wastegate at the moment and we don't want to change anything. So will that actually drop and flow even better to have even less boost is what we're going to find out. Very soon we will get it back to the dyno and we'll get it retuned, but for the moment this car is just running basically wastegate. Just flipped it over. Just wanted to show you the bottom side of this. Now, as you can see, large port. Now, for 350 bucks, it is still pretty good. The only thing I'm going to say is it's not perfect there and it's not perfect here. But I am going to put the gasket on here and I am going to match port as well. So we are going to solve this because I've got to use the porter on the Coolant gasket anyway. So I will be tidying those up anyway. So underneath we've got our inlet temperature sensor. Again, stock, bolts in place. We've got our vacuum hose that goes to the brake servo. Again, fittings are supplied, and the same goes for all of our vacuums that would go to the wastegate, to the fuel pressure regulator, and to the blow-off valve. And then if you've got any others, you can put them in there. If not, you get the blanks. Right, let's get it fitted. Does it give a performance advantage? Absolutely not. Doesn't make any difference. This is just an aesthetic item just to make your engine bay look a little bit cleaner. For me, as I said, it's more about getting rid of some fixings, potential leaks that we have on the race car. We don't have them now, but what if we did? This again deletes potential leaks. We don't really get this car up to temperature because we have a oil pre-warmer. So the oil is up to 90 degrees before we even leave the pits. We drive down to the start line. So the car's running for 30 seconds to drive to the start line. At that point, we'll be pushed in the pairing lanes. We won't start the car until we're 2 pairs away from racing. So the coolant is always cold. The oil is always warm when we go racing. So I have no worries about the coolant system because obviously doing this will reduce a little bit of coolant in your system. But to be honest, we've already got rid of the KO4 water lines as well. So that's a little bit less coolant in there. But again, that's extra heat that we've lost. So yeah. All right, let's get it fixed. Hopefully this will be nice and easy. It should be. Everything comes in the kit. You get the gaskets that you require. Let's get on it. 2 bolts. Unbolt my fuel rail, comes out the way, and then it's basically the 10 bolts that hold the inlet manifold on. Already undone the silicone hose on the gasket, and I've unplugged all my air lines to it, so hopefully this should just pop off, and then I can show you the phenolic gaskets underneath. Of course, as I said, I'm going to port that. Couple bolts off. Inlet manifold done. Now, of course, mine is a race car, so it is pretty easy to get to everything. Unlike your Passat or your A4, might take you a little bit longer. But we're going to get to removing the header tank. And of course, you've got the water line coming round here that goes into that metal pipe. Now what we will do is just cut that and weld that up so that is permanently blocked. And then we've got the feed, again, goes to our alley adapter here. Again, we're just going to weld that up. So that is that wire pipe and that pipe completely gone and tidied up. Okay, right, manifold off. We've kept the fuel rail intact at the moment because there is still some EH5 in there and I don't want to release those fumes just yet. We have got still the small port Coolant gasket on there with the large port gasket. I didn't even realise they reused that last time, but that kind of gives you an idea of the difference in size. Now, of course, the gasket is exactly for the small port head anyway. And at some point we will be getting a new cylinder head from RT&G Performance, so more upgrades coming, but that's a winter project. And of course, like I said, we will probably have those ported out to the same size as the actual gaskets because there is just excess metal there. So a couple bolts off, inlet manifold done. Now, of course, mine is a race car, so it is pretty easy to get to everything. Unlike your Passat or your A4, might take you a little bit longer. But we're going to get to removing the header tank. And of course, you've got the water line coming round here that goes into that metal pipe. Now, what we will do is just cut that and weld that up so that is permanently blocked. And then we've got the feed, again, goes to our alley adapter here. Again, we're just going to weld that up so that is that wire pipe and that pipe completely gone and tidied up. Now, of course, this is supposed to be a like for like drop in, and the first thing I noticed is, I mean, admittedly it's not tight yet, but look at the gap between the throttle body flange and the actual boost pipe. Now, if you look how big the throttle body is, there's not much room to fit that in. Of course, maybe on a Passat, it'll bolt straight on. For me, it's just a case of sliding this T-piece further down the boost pipe. I'm sure it'll be fine. Now, unfortunately, this fuel rail will not fit the SPA turbo manifold. I've got to use the billet one, which is no issue. The billet one, of course, is bigger. This is just a standard one with some AN fittings welded on by Lee. So, but yeah, definitely looking a bit more racy now, isn't it? With the teenager turbo, should I say? It's only a G30 770, but certainly looking more race car. Only getting bits removed. We've taken out the first pipe that was our overflow that came down to here. Next one is we're going to be taking this off and then removing the header tank to give us our gap. Started removing some of the wires so I can get to this flange on the side, and then of course the coolant reservoir will just bolt onto the side of the head and look beautiful. All right, header tank is out. Frees up this space there, a little bit of cleaning to be done. It's no issue. But essentially what we'll do now is this pipe here will be removed that goes to there. So that's going to be cut, and we'll get Lee to weld that up to make sure that never leaks. Next, we're going to work on this side where the flange bolts to the side of the head, and we'll get it fitted. Some of the coolant pipes are off. It's literally just the 2 bolts that hold the flange onto the head, and then we're good to go. If you want to know, trying to work on a car in a cast or a brace, it's very hard. You just haven't got the same movement, as you can imagine. It's making it for fun. Well, that's the flange off. So that usually bolts onto the side of the cylinder head. Normally that would go to your heater matrix, but of course these are the alley upgrades and we had them welded up because we don't use the heater. Of course, so that's going to bolt onto the side in exactly the same spot. You have it underneath, just here is where your temperature sensor will go, and then basically bolts in exactly the same way, replacing that. So it's perfect. So there we have it. Pipe off the cylinder head. We'll just clean that up, and then we'll attach our grey fab header tank delete. Nice new O-ring in there. We'll put a bit of sealant, no doubt. You got your overflow, and of course sensor, and bolts straight back into the original pipe and carries on. So you've got your feed to your oil cooler and your feed back to your radiator. Bolts directly in. This is exactly why I bought it from Greyfab, because they've spent the time and the effort making this as a bolt-on, bolt-off item. It's perfect. Okay, so the coolant pot is on. I've put the lower pipe that goes to the oil cooler on. The sensor is in the bottom. My next job is to connect from here to here. Now, of course, previously there's this T-piece which I do need to fit in as well. You've got this part that needs to go to there, and this one goes to this pipe here. Now, the issue I've got is getting it from there to there. Now, of course, if this was in a stock Mark IV Golf, that would be perfectly positioned, but obviously Mark V Golf, custom radiator, and all new different setup, and obviously the radiator's down really low. So I've got to find a way to connect these two via the join and get it in. I'm pretty sure at home I've got some 90-degree bends. Whether they are a 32mm hose, I am unsure of. So I'm going to have to nip out and go and get that. Well, a little bit of jiggery pokery, using some 90-degree silicone hoses, 30mm. Managed to get this in using the original T-piece. That will bolt onto the bottom nicely. I've just got to lift that up above the wires. That keeps it out the way of the gear selector. Of course, that's one of the big jobs, is making sure that nothing fouls the gear selector, because, you know, we have enough issues changing gear. Hopefully that's going to be solved for bug jam. So we're continuing on. Of course, that is the Greyfab header tank, looking good. Well, we're I don't know how many hours in, but I'm not going to lie, it's not been a fun job. It probably would be easy if you weren't hobbling around. Every turn with my leg requires like a lift and a turn, so it's really annoying. But we're getting on with it. The header tank is now on, looking good. The only thing I've got to do now is put two clips on the overflow pipe, and that is that radiator coolant system bit done. So that's nice. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cap on the end of the metal pipe that used to go up to the that used to go up to the header tank, mainly because I haven't got time before bug jam to get that off and get it to Leeds and get it welded. Right then, coolant system done and dusted. That's buttoned up. We're all done. All I've got to do is put two clamps on there, and I've put a bung on the end there. As I said, just for next weekend, let's be honest, they'll probably be there at the end of the season. So SPA, or SPA as I've learned, inlet manifold, bolt straight on. What I'm going to do, as you saw in the previous part of this video, was work out how we're going to fit the throttle body and the silicone hose. That's probably going to need a little trim to make that fit. Then we've also got to move the fuel rail, because this fuel rail won't fit with this inlet manifold. I've got to use the billet one that's over there. So I've got to start making the fittings up for that. Hopefully it's going to be a case of just bolting this -10 adapter on. That'll bolt up straight away. And then it's a case of just working out where the fuel pressure regulator goes on this side. So you're looking at that now. That's going to be interesting with the new coolant header tank, isn't it? If you think about it. Let's have a look. See, normally I'd have a tripod for this sort of stuff, but it's all in the truck. Let's have a laugh, shall we? So I found 2 old injectors, and we're going to put it kind of where we think it's going to go. 1 and 2. So, okay, so that engine bracket's going to have to come off. That's no issue. That's where the crane goes on. And as we said, I can swap this and the gauge around the other way. And I'm pretty sure it's not really going to matter where that is, to be honest. I reckon that might fit. That's going to work. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Really not. So apart from swapping the fuel tech sensor for the gauge, we'll swap them round. And the idea is, this is the 034 Motorsport adapter that goes into the fuel rail. So you just put a stock fuel pressure regulator in there. Although I do have an adjustable one to go in when we go on a methanol, because I'll need to up the fuel pressure. Now the good thing is I can then put the gauge in here. I can then wind the fuel pressure regulator to the correct fuel pressure, get it to what we want it to be. And then we can take that out and put the blank in and let the fuel tech just monitor the fuel pressure. Now has come the time to fit all my fittings, essentially. We've got, for the brake servo, to go here. We've got my inlet temperature sensor, goes there. And then I've got 5 different ports, depending on what sort of boost control you've got. You get 3 barbed to go in here, and you get a couple of blanks as well. This all comes with the SPA turbo kit. So of course we've got wastegate, we've got fuel pressure regulator, and we have got ECU. And then the other 2 will be blocked off. So I'll probably go 1, 2, and 3, give them a nice little gap. They are basically on the right hand side of the engine, so that's perfect. So I don't think I'm going to have to extend my silicone hoses at all. So this is going to be pretty good. So I'll get this made up, and then of course throttle body off the old manifold bolts straight onto there. There we go, spot on. So 3 boost pipe to take off, my brake servo, and inlet temperature sensor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that back onto the car and then work out the best way to clock the throttle body. Well, balls, just as I thought. A little bit too close. Now, of course, once again, if you had a Passat or if you had an Audi A3, there's probably a much longer silicone hose that you would just adjust. But obviously, I've got a custom intercooler that was made to fit. So, essentially, I'm going to have to go and get this cut off and reduced a little bit. Joy! So, fuel rail on. And now, as you can see, I've not tightened it up yet. I can see the holes. And I am using the second hole on the rung. So what I'm going to do, now obviously I used just some old 20 valve injectors just to get used to putting it in and out. I don't want to put my expensive injectors in and out just yet. And I think what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to take it out. I'm going to attach the adapters, the holders for the fuel rail, knowing that we're going to be using the middle one, and I'm going to tighten them up, and then I shall use this bolt to tighten up. I don't know if you can see it, this bolt here to tighten up, rather than trying to get the right angle on that thread. Obviously your injector's got a teeny bit of movement in there, so I was trying to find it and I have located it, but I think rather than potentially cross-threading it, what I'm going to do is when I take it off again to fit the good injectors, I shall bolt these brackets to the rail, and then next time I shall push the injectors in, put the rail in, and then I shall bolt the rail brackets to the manifold. I think that's going to be the best way to do it. Right, so hopefully it's the final time this will go on now. I've put the brackets onto the fuel rail just so I didn't cross thread those, because I was scared of that, and I know I can find the hole in the head the hole in the inlet manifold a lot easier. I've put my 034 Motorsport adapter on the side here, and I've got that to fit perfect. So I've got the back blanked there and also at the bottom there. And then what I will do is, for now, I'm going to put the standard fuel pressure regulator in there. So we know exactly what the fuel pressure will be anyway. But I do have the adjustable one, which will go in there. And what we'll do is we'll adjust the fuel pressure via looking at the gauge here. And then, as I said, as soon as we're happy with that, we'll turn the car off. We'll take this gauge out and we'll put in the electronic sensor for the fuel text read, just because I like it as safety. I had that on the dragster before with the methanol when we were running a mechanical fuel pump, and we had a Bosch 044 pump, which was like a priming pump. So anytime you went to start the car, the 044 would kick in, fill up the fuel rail, you'd spin the car over. As soon as the ECU saw enough fuel pressure go to the end of the rail, it would turn the electronic fuel pump off. Perfect. Started every time. Now, one race, and it only ever happened once, but the belt for the mechanical fuel pump actually came off. Soon as it came off, the ECU saw the fuel pressure drop. It kicked the electronic fuel pump in, and obviously I noticed the difference in performance. So I basically, as soon as it come off, I noticed as well, and I lifted. But I can guarantee you that the fact that the 044 kicked in and carried on putting fuel into the car, basically when it was on idle, that probably saved some engine parts. So for that reason, I'm having an electronic fuel pressure regulator on there, or a sensor. So yeah, coming towards the end of the day, not quite finished yet. I have decided, although let me just place that there for a second. What I have decided is I've put the fuel pressure regulator on this side this time. Doesn't really matter which way the fuel is going to go. It's going to fill that rail up, but essentially it just means I can do a single return just here. That's nice and easy. That's a -8, so I can spin that round. I might need to shorten that hose just a teeny bit tomorrow. And then the pump, I've got the pump down there. So at the moment it was coming out 90 degrees up and into there, which was lovely. But something I want to do in the very near future that we were talking with, if you saw the aerodynamics video, is that I saw that you need a cowling for the front to direct air in, and you need air to be directed out and then up through the bonnet. As you can see, the intercooler comes over here, and that would have been directly in the way. So what we can do now is we can lay this down, point the filter towards the engine and loop a pipe around there. Gives me that extra bit of room so that we can make this cowling that we need to direct the air away from the fans and the intercooler and up through the bonnet. Probably means a new oil cooler housing at some point. That's going to be something to look into. I'm pretty sure there's billet ones of those which can relocate that either straight down or to a new position. So we'll have a look, but it's more, I fit something, it gives me another idea for something else. Another way to spend money. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be spending any money any time on anything else. All of these parts were basically from America, and I ordered them before I actually ended up hurting myself and putting myself out of work for 12 weeks. So there won't be any more spending on this other than bits that I'd already purchased. Anyway, so let's get back to it. As you've seen, the inlet and the throttle body, unfortunately, do not kind of kiss. They're not talking to each other at the moment. So I've spoken to Lee. That's going to have to be cut off and redone tomorrow, day before we head to Bug Jam. But we're going to get it done. So a couple of fuel lines, finish this off, put the proper injectors in, and we're good to go, I think. Well, so far I'm having delightful fun trying to get my injectors to fit in this manifold. Now I've got the injector tops on, and I can obviously take the tops off because there was adjustment on the brackets, but then if I take the tops off, that reduces it down by about 1.5 centimeters, and at that point I think this fuel pressure regulator will then foul on the BAM engine mount thing, And then also coming around here, the outlet would then foul on this one. Again, removable, but that small bracket there will still be in the way, I believe. So yeah, I don't know whether the top hats are bottoming out or what. Either way, it's taking up like an hour of my day. Again, would be a lot quicker if it wasn't crippled. But getting the right angle is great fun. Well, that was not how I was supposed to end today, but leaving defeated. I have yet to get the fuel rail connected. One of those is just not lining up, it's being an asshole. Also, this fitting here did not work. I've got to go for a different one, which will just extend out this to about there. It's not the end of the world, it just looks shit. But yeah, obviously inlet manifold and rear charge cooler don't connect. Lee's going to fix that tomorrow for me, thankfully. She's going to weld on a new pipe to the intercooler, and of course that will just go in there somehow, I don't know. Lee fix tomorrow. I'm done. My leg is killing me now. I've been on my feet all day. So yeah, almost. I'm gonna hammer this a bit more and fingers crossed and get that fixed, but coolant bit all done. That's very nice. Happy with that. Haven't had to extend any wires. Brilliant. Yeah. Fuel lines I've changed because I've got the fuel return coming this side now and the inlet going in that side. I will change that at a later date for a better way, but I didn't require me to change anything. So roll on tomorrow. Well, you join me at home. Just finished editing the video, and as you saw, a little bit unsuccessful today, but nevertheless tomorrow will be a better day because we have a Lee. He's going to fix that inlet and charge pipe. I'm going to get that fuel rail on. Going to change one of the fittings so we can get the fuel pressure regulator on. And then basically we shall, fingers crossed, fire it up. Unfortunately, you're not going to see a video of that now because it's too late. I really wanted to get this done tonight and done and dusted. Of course, by the time you see this, it's probably Tuesday leading up to Bug Jam. I'll be heading to Bug Jam and then we'll be ready to go. So if you're at Bug Jam, please do stop by the pits, come and say hello. Of course, I probably won't be there because I'm going to be in the tower doing the commentary with Colin. The lads will be bringing the car down to the pairing lanes. I'll be in the tower in my race suit, and I'll be running down, doing a run, parking up, running back down to the tower, running, haha, and then continuing the commentary. And that's kind of how it's going to work throughout the weekend. So I'm double duty and I'm racing and I'm doing the commentary with Colin. So yeah, but if not, say hello to Lily. She's got the Audi TT. You won't miss the new t-shirts. They're a bit funny. But yeah, here we go. Bug Jam. If you're going, have a great one. I look forward to seeing you there. If I don't see you there, just have a great one anyway. Pop into the VWDLC pits. We've got a new position this year. So you will be guaranteed be walking through the pits. Come and have a look. Sportsman cars are amazing. VW Pro cars are top tier. So do come and have a look at some of the cars the VWDLC offer. Don't forget, VWDLC TV is the YouTube channel for all things VWDLC. Please make sure you go and have a look at that.